is important, and this is something that I try to feed through my professional life, through the education. The school I went to in Scotland was a totally integrated school, so it was not unusual for us to see ramps there, to be sitting beside a sight impaired person, to have someone in the classroom signing, for people to be wearing phonic ears and so on. That all became pretty common, and because also it was a community school, so people from the community went into the school to do various activities. They were also integrated with the pupils, and there was a great understanding really in individuals' needs from the staff members and co-pupils. So that was really important for a young person, and that's the key time for people to just be with people, so that when you grow up, there isn't this embarrassment as to, well, how should I treat this person? I see a wheelchair and I think, you suddenly freeze, you don't know what to do. But actually, when you're used to this type of thing at a young age, perfectly normal. I think the whole idea of being able to sustain a career over the past 20 years as a soloist has been step one for me, and feeding the next generation and making sure that other people can now say, I want to be a solo percussionist, and they do it without people saying, no, you can't do it because of repertoire, or who's going to listen to solo percussion. They absolutely are doing it, they can do it. We've proved that, and now we just have to let it go and let it take its course. So for me now, it really is about communication in a greater sense. Obviously, what I do as a player and the continuation of commissioning music, that's important to me, but also dealing with speeches. And this is something whereby I can really convey something verbally, or try to, but also use my instruments as a tool, whether it's dealing with an inspirational message, whether it's dealing with the fact that, well, sound is all around us, and we are the sound, really, when you think about it. And we have to pay attention to that, but in order to do that, we have to just slow down. We've got to slow down and just be in touch with ourselves, actually. This isn't a religious thing. I'm not sure if it's a spiritual thing even. It's just taking time in the fast pace that we're living in. It's just taking that time to observe. And the whole idea of listening and the art of listening is to just pay attention, to concentrate, to focus, and to pay attention. That's what you have to do as a musician. When you play one note, when you strike one note, you're paying attention to that one note. You have to pay attention to it in order to know how to link it to the next note, and so on. So you don't just strike something and don't think about it, because it's coming from the body. It's got to come from the imagination, through the body, through the shaft of the stick, through that instrument, and feeding it through to our audiences. And then whatever happens thereafter, who knows? But that's the process, really. So we can't just have fast food processes of playing music, really. And in the same way that the art of listening is about paying attention, looking at something. If I'm going to look at a roll of gaffer tape, or a bottle of water, or a tabletop or something, and think about writing an essay on that. What are you actually seeing there? And try that exercise, is really write down, what are you seeing there? It isn't just a black table. The whole myriad of elements within that table suddenly become completely heightened if you just pay attention. But in order to do that, everything else has to be shut out, really. But so really the goal is to try to eventually create a centre whereby we allow people this possibility of exploration through sound. We're living longer and we're healthier for longer. So the whole aspect of the body being flexible, and the idea of percussion where the body is grounded and well balanced, as opposed to if you're playing a violin, and if you take the instrument away, you're in this kind of posture which is fairly unnatural. Or if you imagine imagine a trombonist, and being in this position is quite unnatural, or a flute player, take the instrument away, and to be like this, well, we're not like this any other time of the day, but with percussion or with the voice, we really are grounded there, and we have the possibility of using the body weight, and that's hugely important as we get older and we become much more aware of the body. We listen to the body more. We listen if we suddenly have an ache in the arm, or a headache as we get older, or a pain somewhere. We listen to that, but we don't really listen to that when we're a lot younger. So it's just being aware of what the body's about. I don't know about my legacy. I think that I just want to continue with my own journey of curiosity, my own journey of discovery, of growth, really. I feel there's so much more I can do as a player. I need to improve as a player, technically, what I want to say interpretation-wise. I feel as though I'm gradually getting there, but you always, you're trying to reach out for something else. You're always peeping round the next corner thinking, well, what if? What if I tried this? It may be that you fall flat on your face, but that's part of the learning curve, really. And it's important to do that and to feel as though you can do that. And even if you are making a boo-boo at some time, well, you're not despondent by that. It's like going back to the blackboard and, trying again. And the great thing about being a percussion player is that my repertoire is not yet 100 years old, unlike the piano or violin repertoire. So I have to keep an open mind. I've got no option than to keep an open mind. With the instrument manufacturers, I have to keep an open mind, because we don't yet have the Stradivarius marimba or the Steinway vibraphone. We're still very much developing in that sense. We're developing with the actual repertoire. So how I communicate with composers, I have to keep an open mind and push them, to just push their own boundaries, really. And likewise, what I ask from our audiences is to keep an open mind. Simple as that. If I hadn't decided to become a musician, I would probably have become a visual artist. That's something that interests me quite a lot. A lot of my relatives are visual artists, but they're far more talented than I am. But I probably would have pursued that. Certainly something within the arts. I also liked sports, so who knows? But really, probably the visual arts for sure. Well, over the years, I've visited a lot of prisons in the UK, both men's prisons and women's prisons, and as well as young offenders centres or institutions. And this has been really a worthwhile and pretty remarkable experience for me, in that you suddenly discover how important the arts in general are to people. And a lot of these people have been distracted and made decisions throughout their lives that perhaps have not been so positive, but suddenly they're in an environment whereby they're fed certain opportunities that they have a chance to actually grasp, and there's a support system there in order for them to grow. And you discover all sorts of talent there, and whether it's people who have discovered that they enjoy visual art and they're good at it, and well, can you imagine that kind of discovery, actually? And it completely changes their life. Simple as that. The whole idea of drama and theatre is so important for them, to be able to express a message, for them to be able to have people respect that message, something that's very, deep within themselves, and they're able to get that out of their system and be able to express it. That's so important, being able to write songs, and again express that message. It's just being able to express themselves and have that respected, and in a positive way. And of course, we have a high percentage of people who leave the prisons and obviously do good things, and it's having that support system once they leave the institutions that's important, probably the most crucial time, making sure that they stay on that positive train, as it were, that positive journey, and then feed their experiences to other people. So a lot of them actually want to return to the prisons, but in that they are there as a support system. They're there in order to feed positive energy to other inmates, in the hope that they can plant their message, as it were, to other people. So the cycle then becomes really important. It's like a snowball; it just grows and grows, and so I really found that to be important. Actually, it's important work, and thankfully it's being supported pretty well, by our government. It's one of those things that has been a very pleasant surprise for me, believe it or not.